Saying the pledge to start the meeting.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Loring, are you here?
Here.
Mr. Helmers?
Here.
Mr. DeBoer?
Here.
Mr. Schulte?
Here.
And I am here. First item on our agenda is to consider today's agenda as presented. The engineer being ill has said the engineer department review and discuss the approval or consider approval of engineer's contract could be handled at a later date if we want to remove those from today's agenda.
I'll make a motion with that exclusion.
Okay. Motion by Helmers, second by Loring for approval of the agenda with the removal of the engineer's contract and the engineer's department review. Any discussion concerning the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Next item would be to look at minutes from January 21.
Make a motion of January 21 minutes.
Support.
Motion by DeBoer, support from Schulte for approval of the January 21 minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of approval signify with aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Right. Next, we have a copy of Resolution 2425, appointing chief deputy and deputies for the county sheriff and county auditor. Something we learned at new officer school.
Yeah,
here.
so I learned a new officer school. I guess every time you're newly elected, you need to appoint your deputies and your chief deputy. So I learned something.
Make a motion for resolution 25. Support.
Motion by Helmers and support from Schulte for approval of Resolution 25. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Helmers, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Schulte?
Aye.
Mr. Loring?
Aye.
Mr. DeBoer?
Aye.
And I vote aye. We have consideration for approval of line and pit mining agreement.
No, it says pretty much the same language as it was before, I believe.
Make a motion to accept that.
I'll support it.
Motion by Schulte and support from DeBoer to accept and approve the gravel extraction agreement as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. How come we didn't start budget reviews till 9? Kidding.
We are starting
Do
them
you
at
want us to do-
9.
You want us to do claims, or
Sure.
they were always at the end of the
Yeah,
minutes?
that's all
but-
right. We can still put them in the end.
Okay. in the list of claims, I will highlight one, number 1239 is to Bosma Water Service.
I make a motion for that claim.
That
Two claims, motion by Helmer, support from Loring for approval of number 1239 to Bosma Water Service. Discussion. Hearing none, those in favor signify with aye. Those opposed, same sign. I will abstain.
Make a motion for the rest of the claims.
The one for other sanitary mileage, is that for a month? Is that for?
I believe so. Yep, she turns it in for a month. Good check. How much was it for? Because she has one for $4
Yeah, we
for
have
postage.
280.
Oh no, it was for the quarter, from October 7th to December 24. So it's for the last quarter.
It's non-departmental being so short.
I'd make a motion for the rest of the claims.
Would you be willing to support Leroy's motion?
I didn't see it. I didn't hear it. Yep.
We had a motion by DeBoer, support from Helmers.
Thinking about something else.
Yeah.
Sorry.
For approval of the remainder of the claims, any discussion or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Yep. See you in 10:45.
My grandson had toots, but his ears, he was holding it. Everything was good.
Good.
We
They
run
don't,
these through in
they
the
don't take them very long. Recover faster sometimes than mom and dad.
Did you have that? 2 parties.
You got a copy of your budget for you.
Figured out.
Yeah, they get these budget sheets and they fill it out, then they bring them to my office and we put them in the system and print them all out, so.
Leave the totals on the back page.
Yep. What their increase is for this year. And then expenses are first, and if they would have any revenues for the year.
And see what they did last year, the previous year. Sometimes it's no big deal, and sometimes it's not much fun.
Yep, pretty much. The ambulance isn't gonna be fun. Just saying.
It is 9 o'clock. First item for review. Budget review is Veterans Affairs. Welcome, Buffy.
Thank you.
Excited?
Sure.
All of that, this is pretty wild, I don't know.
Allotted 15 minutes. Do you want to give your 10-minute presentation now, or?
Well, there's only,
Or what you'd like.
there was only one change. My commissioners voted to a 3.5% raise like the rest of the courthouse. Otherwise, everything else stayed the same. We seem to be able to help all the veterans within the budget that we have. So there was really no need to change anything else.
Maybe since Jeff is new, maybe explain that $10,000 you get in grant money, what you can use that for, and since, you know,
Okay.
to understand, and maybe the rest of the board too, so.
So each year, each fiscal year, each Veteran Service Office gets $10,000 from the state of Iowa to use what they say to help veterans. And to fund your, fund your office for like papers, I mean, that kind of stuff. I'm not good at explaining things, so bear with me. There's been changes to it. You cannot, unless it helps a veteran, you can't spend the money on it. So like last year I bought a desk because the other one kind of got damaged. But I ended up having to pay for that out of county money because it's not to help a veteran. So basically what you have to spend this money on is promotional stuff. You can't use it, so if a veteran came and needed groceries or something like that, I have to use the county funds. I can't use that allocation money. And sometimes in a small county like ours, $10,000 is a lot to spend. They don't want you to send it back. So you kind of, I don't want to use this word, but sometimes you feel like you're wasting it, you know. There's only so much promotional stuff, so I'm going to try to think outside of the box
And
to
you
use
cannot
it.
use it for groceries and things like that. You cannot
That
use
has to be out of this budget,
Yeah.
yeah.
It doesn't even make sense to me.
Well, that was, I kind of knew that.
Desk
Yeah.
doesn't benefit a veteran, but groceries do, but you can't.
So how many veterans do you help then, whatever?
Well, I think that we're like the lowest, one of the second lowest counties for veteran population. Last year, I had 8 new veterans come in, which is, I didn't think was very good, but my commissioners do because of the size of the county. You know, this was my first time kind of keeping tally of everything. And I did 17 total of claims last year, and I got 7 people enrolled into the VA healthcare system. So this year I tried doing coffees in the morning, you know, like a veteran's coffee. That really didn't go over well, so we just kind of stopped that. You know, everybody, like my commissioner said, everybody kind of has their routine where they go and coffee every mornings and stuff, so I understand that. So I'm just going to try to think outside the box and to try to bring more veterans in, and I'm trying to get like my generation and younger in, and that's basically what's out there. But with technology, they can do all this stuff on their own. But I still encourage, you know, everyone to come in. I've gotten a lot of good feedback from my newsletter that I send out. And I can leave this if you guys want to look. This is the one I just finished and I'm going to send out. So you can. So if you ever have any suggestions or any, you know, I'm willing to take any suggestions on how to promote, bring in anything. I'll take any suggestions, any advice, anything you guys are willing to give me. That would be, you know.
Would you mind including me on the newsletter? Is that all right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Just put it in the box in the
Okay.
auditor's office rather than on it out or whatever. You good?
So this line item down here is 21, that's in the third total. That's for the budget for this year then? I want to make sure I'm reading it right. I never really looked at one of these. So.
I'm not sure.
Like here. the
Yes,
50,000.
that is her budget for this year. This is her budget for the current year that we're in. This is last year's and history from 2 previous years.
Like that year was 51 and she only spent 40.
Yep. And then this is what they doesn't show up in my package.
So 40 of the county and then 10 of
Yes.
some of the state.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, cause
You
you,
don't know what I'm looking at.
yeah. Those are good questions. I mean, prior to that, you could use that 10,000 for like, equipment,
Yeah,
computers and, furniture,
Anything for the office, but now they've changed it. In fact, in the office there, I don't have much storage, so I got a couple of storage cabinets. They weren't gonna pay for that until I told them, this is where I store all the promotional items for them, so then they agreed to pay for that. It's just, it's frustrating, it's confusing, but what do you do? I guess in the bigger counties, I'm sure, they even struggle and need more money, but in a small county, but
like we talked yesterday, it's just too bad you couldn't use that money for a veteran that
Yeah.
needed it to pay a bill or,
Yeah.
needed, that would make more sense than promotional personally, but.
well, okay, for example, I can use it to set up a computer for veterans to come in to search for jobs or something like that. But in this smaller county, it doesn't really pay. So I guess that's all I have, unless you guys have questions for me.
Could you use it like, a lot of these legions have breakfasts? Is
I,
there somehow
yeah,
you
that
can,
kind of stuff I can do. I'm just not familiar on how to do that.
yeah, I'm not sure how you go about either. But
Because I have thought of that. Yeah,
Just give money towards the expenses, and do you think you could do?
I'm just
I
asking.
think I'm
Pay
gonna
for
reach out
advertising?
Yeah,
to
or
the
something. Yeah.
legions
Usually run
and
an ad.
ask.
Yeah, or add, like Jason said, something to,
Yeah,
that's a lot of money to come up with to try to, like I said, they don't want it back, so.
yeah. Emmett County, I go in with Emmett County and Dickinson County. This will be our second year in May. They do a walk over at the lakes. And this year it's for veteran homelessness. And so some of that money goes towards promotional stuff and advertising and all that stuff for that walk, but it's not much.
You can't use it for training, right, for yourself?
No,
Just trying to think of other ways.
because that's that extra 3,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I am gonna, I have thought about doing like a breakfast or something. I just didn't know quite where to start, but I'll ask around to the other BSOs how they do it and kind of go from there.
Supporting the legions and the
Yeah.
ones that do them already.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I know the Sibley do something like that. I know Melvin does it several times a year. But
Yeah, they do.
And Ashton, right?
Mhm.
Ashton does
Yeah.
it. I don't know about Sibley or
I don't know that Sibley, I've never heard that.
Cheaton. I know the fire does, but I don't know
Yeah,
about
I
the
don't know the
Legion.
Legion does either.
do they do something on Memorial Day, the Legion, in Cochise?
Yeah. They do out at the cemetery there,
I
yeah.
don't know if they did it.
No, I don't think so, but that's a good idea though. Have something afterwards or,
I'm just trying to figure out how to spend my money.
yeah, yeah.
We've been
Usually they don't
brainstorming.
have that problem.
No, I know. We've been brainstorming, trying to figure out ways that you can use it.
This year I won't have any problems, but next year will be for sure, cause I've, bought a bunch of promotional stuff to hand out, bags, I've got 50 left that I can do up to hand out to veterans, and I tried to think outside the box of, not just crap you throw in a drawer. So I've got like a shop towel in there, one of those like mugs like that, pair of socks, everybody likes a good pair of socks,
Can you put like a gift card in there for food or
I
something?
don't know, I doubt it, but I don't know.
mean, that was just something for food or, I don't know, groceries or, I don't know, Quick Start gas.
I doubt it, but it's worth checking
Probably not.
into.
Yeah, probably not. Just trying to brainstorm for you.
That's all I got.
I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, thank you.
Thanks, Bethany.
Hello, Rocky.
Yeah.
Seen that fishing deal. A fishing deal on the email for her.
Oh, yep, she got that, so I sent it out to everybody so that she got it, and then I just sent it out so no one else would click on it. We have had in the past that people are trying to change their direct deposit, but it's a scam. And I knew that, but not everybody knows that, so. We make it that they have to come in the office so that, we talk to them personally, but these bigger counties, don't have a personal relationship like we do. One county, the county attorney is one check went into not his account. Getting smarter, yep.
For ambulance, the 26,000 is at the
The
EMS levy.
yep. Yeah, Jason brought a good point. The fund, $26,000, that's what's taken out of that EMS fund. The 1,000 comes out of general. So the first page, that second line, that 26,000 for salary, 53,000 is coming out of the EMS levy.
So is the revenue from that levy shown under transfers then, or?
Department 99 probably.
99?
I think it's like 291.48.
Yeah. showing up at 282,032, but that's because that's all the other stuff that we get reimbursed for. So
Non-departmental.
yeah, so for this coming year, it's 293,153 that we're budgeting for. Is what the 45 cents comes in at.
I might find it eventually, but you said it was what, 290?
293, $153, 293,153 is a projection for next fiscal year. It's down a little bit because our overall valuation is down, so. You have a copy of your budget, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, here's this is what we put in the system. So you know what
Sorry.
we're looking at.
9:15 slid by me, sorry.
Well, I don't even know where to begin. I know we are like way, way, way short of money. First thing, for one thing, we're making the director's position a full-time position. And $53,000 is probably pretty much on the low end. You're not really gonna find anybody to take that. But it's a starting point, correct? So that's over 37% higher than last year. When we did that budget review, kind of compared it from last year to this year, 76% of the tax levy money went toward wages. And 24% of that went toward equipment, education, and that kind of stuff. Another high thing on this budget is the $130,000 last payment, installment payment on that ambulance that we're gonna. So that's coming out in this year's budget.
We knew that was coming,
Pardon?
but we knew that was coming.
Yes, but you know, I mean, it was a sticker shock to me too. I mean,
But that 130 is coming out of general basic, not the EMS fund.
right. And then, Rochelle told me that there must have been some tax levy money that came in after, because there was what, 72,000 in reserve.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't use all your expenses. That increased that fund.
That 205,700 for regular employees, is that going up because of wage increase, or how come that's so much higher?
That would be in the increase of what?
The 205,000, why there's such an increase from last year to this year, or this current year to
okay, so
next year.
we gave them a 3.5% raise on the EMT when they go out on a call. Then we raised the on-call pay from $1.72 an hour to $2.50 an hour, and $5 an hour when on the weekends. And I'm just taking that money according to the calls that we did last year. So, because it's kind of hard to determine how many calls you're gonna go on. You know, this past year we did 571 calls. And we still, I think we're sitting pretty good yet on our budget for this year yet.
How do we handle the people that are not on, they're on call but not on?
Right.
You know what I'm
So
saying? How do
that
we handle
means that
that?
they can't leave town.
Okay, but how do we handle the dollars to the other people? The kid, like the Malvin or the whatever?
Oh, okay. So those guys, they don't wanna be on call.
No, I know.
Oh, yeah.
But how
So
do
then
we
they,
handle-
yeah, they send in, you know, when they go out on a call, they let me
Do
know.
they get that raise too or not?
Pardon?
Do they get that raise?
Oh, yeah, that's all the way across the board, Jerry.
Okay.
Yeah, no. They're getting up at 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning, they don't let it raise. So for like, the revenue that came in like last year, I kind of understated it. I thought maybe 200,000 and we actually got $288,000 in. So that with that grant, that ended up with 295,476. I mean, and, there is a grant out there, but for education, but not for paying, hiring people.
So I just did a preliminary budget fund balance, and the EMS levy, we're in the red, 32,197. So we gotta do something to get that in the black. Either we gotta reduce expenses, or we're gonna have to do a transfer into that, or
What did y'all use for income on that one?
Did the local emergency medical services system advisory council provide a report or recommendation on funding? The approval of the EMS levy requires that annually.
Yes. Did we discuss that?
I thought we did. Maybe in the minutes.
It should be.
I thought we talked about it.
the revenues, that 7,000 grant that's going into general, and then the PCC billing is that monies are going into general, last year we received 283,000. We pay that expense out of general, so that's why it's going back into general. I don't know if the board wanted to, the board, every June, we have to transfer them a loan for $100,000 to pay bills, but then in June, we gotta pay it back. And then last year, we, instead of taking expenses out of general, we just transferred money from the general basic into the EMS fund of $81,530.
Yeah, 81,000.
So that money the fund got to keep. But we just got to figure out how to get it in the black. Well, we can put some of that money probably in general in the EMS, but I don't think we can put all of it in there because the expenses are being paid out of general, so we got to keep some in there. And that also affects our ending general basic fund balance as well.
If we're gonna go full-time on that position, does that mean, that person won't be an ambulance person, won't be an EMT or what?
Yeah.
They will not be
They will be.
on the ambulance.
They will be.
They will be.
So basically do what you do now.
Right.
They'll take calls and just a full-time position. correct?
Yes.
You know, one time we talked about, Sandy, that maybe that money
Would that be,
be better spent for another paramedic versus a full-time.
it probably would be, you
I
know,
know, we probably can't do it, but I mean,
yeah.
you don't think somebody can do it part-time like you've been doing
Well, when I approach people to ask them if they would, you know, about taking over my position, the first thing out of their mouth is, what does it pay?
it? Part-time,
Yeah.
but they didn't say yes or no?
No, well, they said, no, they make more money on their regular job. Yeah, they didn't give up anything.
Have you ever checked with that?
And the thing of it is that schedule that sits at the Sibley garage, that's the directors, that's their main thing. There's holes in that schedule. If there's nobody on call or there's not enough people on call, that's that director's position to either get somebody in there to be on call or take it themselves. And in the summertime, there's a lot of times that, you know, you don't get to go anywhere because there is nobody, you know, so you have to stay back.
Could I get you to check with Ida County?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know
Yes.
they hired 3 full-time paramedics.
Yes, they did, yeah.
How are they paying for them?
And they only have 256 calls a year.
Yeah, and they hired 3 full-time.
How in the world? And I mean, they're bringing in they're paying them $89,000 a year. Isn't that crazy? It's just like, I mean, is Ida County a big county? I mean,
No.
does it have a lot of,
They're
Ground
not much
or-
bigger, about the same as we are.
yeah.
Did they pass that levy then, Ida? They did, didn't they?
I'm not sure if they did or not. See, that's what I was wondering, how
They
are
did.
they paying for them?
Yeah. Shelby County is a little different too. They use the revenue, from their service to help supplement their tax levy. And they went the full 75 cents plus the 1% sales tax. And they still have to, and then they add in their revenue and they're still short.
Pocahontas did that too, right?
Yeah. It's like, that's a lot.
I was just surprised that Ida County hired 3 full-time.
Yeah. I'll probably have to talk to them in 6 months and find out how that's going.
Yeah.
And then they still have volunteers? I mean, how do they?
Yes,
how do
Ida County, yes, they still use their volunteers to help out with those calls.
Yeah, you'd never have it if you didn't have volunteers. Because then it'd be a budget like the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
Not quite that bad, but it'd be something like it. And honestly, I think you have 53,000 in there for a wage. If we'd hire somebody, say, 4 months before you quit, that 53 wouldn't be enough. And are you running ads for,
Am I doing?
have you run any ads?
Oh, I'm gonna put it in the IEMS Association, the Iowa. You can put it in there for free, yeah. But no, I haven't, you know, we're just trying to get volunteers for Melvin and May City. That's kind of been my focus point right now. So we have 11 people signed up for the first responder class.
You do?
That's awesome.
Yes.
Good.
2 from Melvin and the rest are from Ochi.
Who's from Melbourne?
You know, they contacted, Jewel, Graham Guidance. She hasn't sent me that. Yeah, I did have somebody from, Melton that had taken the course like a couple of years ago, but she didn't pass, and then she said that there was COVID hit, so she didn't go back and test. So, but I'm not for sure if she was gonna take the responsibilities or not.
Jill at the hospital has been a lot easier to work with this time than what the previous administrators were.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to see that levy get balanced. We can't project overspending what the levy will take in.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that Emergency Medical Services System Advisory Council established when we started the levy needs to provide a report saying how that'd be used. And if they balance that, then we have to come up with where the shortfall comes from, but it says there's an annual report that is to be filed with the Board of Supervisors, and it's got to be available to the public, so.
Where did the money come from before we had that?
You have your second year in your box.
Oh, before they had the EMS levy, yeah, it was all general.
Yeah.
And general supplemental for benefits.
That levy is just a benefit on top of that.
Mm-hmm. We just didn't.
I think
We didn't rely on it.
I think much of the public thought it was going to fund EMS, not be on top of what was already funding EMS.
And it is a non-for-profit service, and it's a service that Osceola County is providing for the people to live here, because who would live in a county that does not have an ambulance service or fire service or law enforcement? There's a lot of services that we provide in Osceola County that doesn't bring a lot of money in.
Yeah.
But I know, I get it, I get what you're saying, and I wish, honestly, I wish we just would have backed up a little bit and found out exactly how much money we needed.
I'm not against the service, and it needs to be funded, but we should have
it's just,
entered
I
this
feel-
levy the right way and not just rushed
Yeah.
into it. We're in it, we need to do it right.
Yes, that's right.
I'm thinking in a year or two, we can go for the rest of it, for the 75 cents. Now that we know it's not gonna carry it.
Right. Yeah.
Because at the time, we didn't know.
We will undoubtedly have to come back to this one, but we do have 9:30 with the sanitarian. So if you could maybe do some review on how we can get that levy amount equaled out with expenses and figure out what we need to come up with.
Even at 75 cents, I don't think it'll carry it.
Yeah.
Where are we at now?
45.
Oh, probably would.
I like the income surtax side of it too. Those that aren't property tax owners but live here would be contributing to it. Hello. Hello.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
What do you want to highlight, or what do you have for us?
So I think when Rochelle and I looked through, we just, the only thing really that changed in here was gonna be the salary increase. And then we decreased the, budget for office data and equipment, as the computer that I have downstairs and laptop are relatively new, and I do believe there's only one thing that I'm looking at, needing to purchase this year.
She got a 3.5% raise.
Correct.
We just upped her hours worked. That's why it shows a little bit higher than the 3.5%. We took our hourly rate times the 3.5% and just what, 50 hours?
We averaged 50
50 hours
hours
a month.
a month.
So that's why it's shows that increase.
And it had been at what?
I think we had it before at like 42 or 43 is
Yeah,
how we
something.
figured it out.
That's how we upped it to. And then that well closure, that 25,750, that's just as,
It depends on how many
Basis.
we get. I did do that campaign when we did our mailed out the tax statements, and I did get a lot of interest in it, so hopefully people start plugging more wells and cisterns, knowing that information.
and your computer's okay, right? Maybe it's upgraded.
Looks good to me.
Good.
Anything else, gentlemen?
Good enough for me.
I don't have anything.
No one is here, so hopefully you can come down to talk about his budget, so.
Have we run an ad for that position yet? Have we had any interest?
It was in the paper last week and has been put on ISAC's webpage. I have not received any calls or interest into that yet.
When was the closing time on that?
February 12th. I don't know if she's in her office or
Who?
Sandy.
She walked across here.
Rochelle,
Yeah.
the ones that,
So you increased the on-call rates. What was the weekend rate previously?
It was 343
so then which one
and $1.71
this year?
in during the day.
Yeah, or total?
Right here.
And that's the pay while they're on call but not called out, right?
Right.
And then when they get a call and you show up,
Then
then
it's-
you haven't affected that rate?
This is the one
They
that
still
I
get that on-call pay and then they get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the rate when they do take a call, has that been adjusted at all or?
Yeah. No, that, when they
This-
take a
this
call,
one
like,
right here
they'll
is
get
what we
the
get from the state. So every time
advance will get $20.59.
But it did go up to 3.5, it did go to 3.5%, it did raise
Yeah.
that.
Is it $700 for a well?
It had been at
$400
what
for a
rate?
cistern, and we get reimbursed from the state on that.
when,
And so we can only pay probably the owner, whatever the grants are, and then I also administration.
We could probably take,
Do we usually
last
use
year
all
we
that
used
money?
117,000.
Question was the ambulance one.
Yes.
We could take away, if we left that 207 and take out take away the $10,000 for the part-time and
How much
just, pardon?
tax
Oh,
can we
That's the
use?
same thing.
to use
oh,
it
I was
all?
just,
For the ambulance?
Yeah,
yeah,
there's
okay.
certain things we can use.
remove
it
that
for.
$10,000 from
Yes.
the
And we are
part-time
using everything
wages.
that we,
We'll use it all,
yeah.
okay.
We have to take some out of
I was
general.
gonna say,
And
that's why
maybe
we're.
just
Yeah, some
not,
are coming out of general.
not do the,
Yeah.
maybe just do the
The
$3 an
$26,000
hour
EMS levy.
on call during the day.
Yep, so
And
that's
then
what
just
we're.
four maybe on the weekend, that would lower it a little bit too.
yeah, I wonder if we don't take a little bit smaller jump there, or else we just need
And
to
then-
identify what part of the wages would come out of general and what would come off that.
You know, maybe just
Um,
leave that,
yeah.
but take out that 10,000
Well-
right here.
So this here, this number here,
Lower it too.
I didn't provide this to the board because it's not accurate, but once we go through all the budgets, this is an ending fund balance report. So it will show you, so right here, EMS is 26,000, it's in the red, 32,187. We gotta get that.
So that,
6,000,
by
yeah.
doing that though, we would lower
one of
both
these numbers.
the FICA,
That's the total
the
expenses,
IFRS.
that's her expenses.
You know, that insurance is high, and right now there's only, one person, that's me.
You got that big payment there.
Yes,
That's the county paying for it, and that's $34,000.
So this is both general
I'm wondering
and
if we should
EMS
just
levy funds
drop
that
that
will
back
not
to
be funded.
just
This is a total ambulance
Yeah, but if you
budget.
hire somebody, they're gonna run insurance
For
anyway.
next year.
Yeah,
The 585.
Yep.
I wouldn't mess with the insurance.
That makes sense. Usually, you know, I provide this to the board as soon as I make all the changes. Because then the fund balance, of course, is gonna change and stuff to this, but unlike the cities, I can't have any fund in the red, everything has to be in the black. So we're gonna have to do some updating on that one.
so then, like this year too, we could probably remove the $8,000 for in the equipment line. And just not, you know, not purchase any equipment or maybe.
Is that realistic though?
I don't know if it's realistic, but
Do you need new computers?
yeah, I do. Mine are not supposed to be.
That's another thing that came about. Microsoft 11 is coming out in October, and we have a handful of computers that can't upgrade, so we have to replace them. So that's $1,000 a computer, so. And most of them can be upgraded. I just don't remember if you're on that list or not.
I mean, my name's on it, but it was like, it couldn't be upgraded. So what do you think, Rochelle, about that 34,000 in insurance? What's your thoughts on that? Can we back that off to just one person, or?
I think we have it, I think we calculated 2 people with family insurance, just because we don't know if they're gonna do single or family. So we thought it'd better be prepared than not prepared.
But I think we, yeah.
But we can you know,
Try to do something.
No one was out there.
All right. Sorry to keep bumping you in and out.
No,
The
I'll
attorney
take
at
it.
9:45, sorry.
The only other quick thing, Sandy, was that 205 versus 109. I don't know how it can double with just that little bit of
Yeah.
wage.
Well, because we're,
increase.
not only we're raising, the 3% raise, but then we're, giving them $2
Extra dollars
or
per hour.
$3. Yeah, I think that went up 72% when I was doing my figuring, which this
I
could
don't
be,
know if that should double.
it's almost a,
what the raise
yeah,
is.
We're gonna have to
it's
sit and
almost,
look
some
at
of
that.
it's almost a 60.
Sorry.
Not double the wages.
No.
Off the money.
Do you have a copy?
I do. You have to tell me I just did it and tell me if I messed up on something. I had Elizabeth look at it, but I'll just kind of go through the county, oh, is the time yet? County attorney. I don't know what the board wanted me to put for salary. I did a 5% increase, but I don't know if that's enough for next fiscal year.
I guess my 2 cents on that would be you guys can see how your search goes and what you get for candidates. Candidly, I mean, and this is all public record, it took Lyon County 6 months to get somebody. I mean, sure, I'm biased and I don't pretend to, be the most objective person because that ended up being me, but they had the position open for actually over 6 months. I ended up offering more money for it. So you guys can play it by ear and see how your search goes. 5% right now is a decent increase in the compensation. Inflation slowed down over the past year. Really the past 2 years, I guess, it seems. So, yeah, it's a decent raise. Is that going to be enough to get you somebody? Time will tell. It's the only thing you'll know. So, it's okay if you leave it that way for now. I know that with respect to what Elizabeth is interested in getting, that she'd like to see more than a 3.5% raise. I'd be very supportive of that. She has done incredible work over the past couple of years in getting up to speed and becoming the best legal assistant I could ask for. She's had a lot on her shoulders the past 6 or so months, with me being the interim Lyon County attorney in various capacities. She's had to deal with me being out of the office more often than usual. And certainly that'll change when and if you guys eventually get yourselves a new county attorney. But if you think about it like this, again, it took Lyon 6 months to get somebody. They're right next door to you. They're bigger. They have more money to offer. They're closer to a metro area. In some respects, that's just objectively going to be a more attractive job to a wider array of candidates. Now, I'm not saying that's the reason I did it, but I'm just kind of telling you guys that's what you're working with. And so the odds are pretty good that you're going to be looking for somebody for a while. Even if you have somebody that wants the job and you hire them and they start next week, there's going to be a significant amount of getting up to speed that happens. And you're still going to be leaning on an experienced legal assistant like Elizabeth to do the job. So I recommend you explore a higher raise for her. At some point, she would like to probably address the board about it. I don't know if today's that day. She's up dealing with magistrate court and other things right now, and that kind of just speaks to how much she has juggled and will continue to do so for a while. In addition, we've objectively been pretty busy on the criminal side of things. I've tried a number of matters to jury and to the bench in the past year and a half. And every time I try a case, the burden falls higher on Elizabeth. And that's something that, I intend to continue to try cases as long as I'm the interim here. There's a few that I don't have a choice but to try. And given the major felony case work that is incoming for whoever will be the next county attorney for Osceola County, they will probably be trying some major cases within the first months or years that they become county attorney, or year singular, really, in terms of timeframes. And so those are increased workloads on Elizabeth because she's the only one that's there. You guys could explore hiring somebody part-time. I'll just, put this out there, and I've mentioned it before. Fine collection is something that we simply don't have the time and the ability to do vigorously. One of the things that I've learned in Lyon since I've been over there is the value of somebody who's a dedicated fine collector. Julie, who's the legal assistant in charge of fine collections over in Lyon County, in the 7 or 8 years that she's worked there, has collected almost $1 million in fines. And the county gets to keep, depending on the year and everything like that, just the county attorney's office gets to keep upwards of 5% of that. The county itself also gets a significant percentage of that money. And the rest of that money goes back to the state, and it reflects well on the county that they're collecting fines at a vigorous rate.
How much does the county get?
They get, I think, another 5%. The county does. I'd have to look at the exact percentage because it's changed over the years that I've been county attorney, because they've changed the rules on fine collections a couple times. But I know for a fact that about 5% of that money, of every dollar that's collected, goes into the county attorney incentive fund, and approximately another 5% goes to the county itself. That county attorney incentive fund money is money that the county attorney can use for any law enforcement related purpose. Let's just say there's a significant difference in how much money is in the county attorney incentive fund in Lyon versus Osceola, and that's not due to the fact that whether it's been Elizabeth or Jace or Mitzi, that they're not vigorously collecting fines. They're doing the best they can, but there's only so many hours in a week they're expected to work, and it's fair to expect them to work. There's only so much that I can do while I do all of the county's legal affairs as their attorney. So looking longer term in terms of getting the best fiscal bang for your buck, I'm not saying you have to hire somebody who's a full-time fine collector. What I am saying is that you guys should look in the upcoming fiscal year and years ahead at hiring at least a part-time fine collector who can do that work. And if it ends up being a full-time employee, there's also probably a Violence Against Women Act grant that could finance a part-time employee who could be a part-time victim witness coordinator and then spend the rest of their time collecting fines to get to full-time. And I don't think that's out of bounds. I know that over in Palo Alto, they've got about 9,000 people, and they've got one full-time legal assistant and then somebody that splits their time between being a victim witness coordinator and being a fine collector. And they also have, obviously, a county attorney, and they had, they got 9,000 people. They have a part-time county attorney who's really just quote-unquote part-time. She really works about 35, 40 hours a week, and then they have a full-time assistant county attorney. So there's staffing options you guys can explore in the future that I think could really expand what your office is able to do, what that office is able to do within budget, while still remaining reasonable for a county of this size. And just in terms of retention, I'll just say I don't think Elizabeth is actively thinking about leaving, but I know that she has opportunities that would probably involve compensation that would be above what she's getting offered this year in terms of a raise, just in terms of what's in the budget. I'll leave it to you guys to decide what you want to do with that, but I just want to put that on your radar as to what the reality of kind of the numbers are there. Besides that, I believe Rochelle has really generally left numbers approximately the same in terms of the asks that I have for this budget, or that we have for this budget. You'll see some changes in, well, let's actually just talk about the cell phone here. That will change probably beyond what is budgeted there, and will probably go down because I am going to switch over the bill for my cell phone, for my work phone being sent to Osceola, and instead have it be sent to Lyon for obvious reasons. And the way it worked basically was, if I took a Lyon call on my Osceola cell phone. There wasn't really any cost for that because I had unlimited call and text and data anyways on that phone. That's just what was most efficient. So going forward, if I take a call about something that's county business, as I did today before I even got here, on my phone that, is now a Lyon County phone, then, all that's getting billed to Osceola will be my time. So there's that. Adjustments you see in miscellaneous prosecution cost, those funds are our projections based on what we think we'll need for the upcoming year. Rochelle, could you refresh my memory of, on page 3, what the criminal prosecution miscellaneous fund money is for again?
Well, I think it's if you had to hire outside counsel, if you had a conflict or something, then
Okay.
that's what we use that for. We haven't used it.
Haven't used it in the past, and that's why you
No,
reduced it.
that's why I reduced it, but I didn't know if that was right or wrong. I didn't know going forward.
I think that's probably fair. I think also the other thing is that's a prosecution cost money fund item that could be used to hire an outside expert if we needed an expert for a sophisticated case. I will not go too much into detail in open session about it, but there is currently a major felony criminal case that is under investigation for which the sheriff's office either has or will retain an expert, which will probably cost approximately all or most of what that budget line item is. If I have to come back to you guys for more money, we can talk about it in closed session and have a discussion in open session about what you want to do about it. But I don't have an issue with that number going down to 10 grand. If I have to come back for a budget amendment for something, I can be pretty confident in telling all of you that it's the sort of thing that we will need to do because it will be on a serious case that simply must be prosecuted and dealt with.
Does that come out of public safety or does it come out of this fund?
That comes out of this fund.
For the jail, probably jail more than public safety, I'm guessing. This fund or.
Yeah, I mean, it could come out of, if the sheriff's office wants to retain an expert before we charge, it could come out of that one. That's fair to say, yes.
I mean, do you think I should back it back up to the 14,000 or?
It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, right? Because if it's 14 grand versus 10 grand, if I really need somebody, like say I need an expert or we have a case that's, again, I'm not going to name specifics, but like a case that's in the offing could involve more than one expert, we're going to burn through that money anyways. So if it needs to be 14 grand and that keeps me from having as much of a chance of having a budget amendment, that's fine. It's hard to say exactly how much that would cost. Most of these experts work for between $200 and $500 an hour, depending on exactly what it is you need. And if you need them to testify in trial, we're going to go through that 10 grand anyways, possibly up to 14. So would it be safer to have it remain at 14? Sure. Is it safe to say that none of us know exactly how much that expert or experts are going to cost? Yeah, also true. So if it goes back to 14, that's fine by me.
Leave it? Okay. The other thing that I upped is the health insurance because I didn't know if new county attorney would have family, so I just budgeted for that to be on the safe side.
I'd say that's really good.
Are you saying leave that 14? No.
And that Carpel, you don't anticipate that going up or anything or any further?
No, not at this point, no.
Okay. I didn't know about that one. I
No.
kept it as, but it has been.
If I hear anything different, I'll let you know. I don't believe so.
My concern with the salary line is with compensation board, we have to set what the salary will be for the year. We can come back and do budget amendments, but we can't exceed what we set at compensation board, it's not compensation board, but at compensation time, so we could really tie our hands if we don't address, if we stick with the 5% now, but.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do.
No, I'm not saying.
Yeah, I know, I just, I was like at a loss. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, whatever your wage is now is what we have to pay the new one coming in until July 1st,
Yes.
correct? And then
Yes.
you can up it.
And that is what we ran into in Lyon too. We had initially had some discussions about what the salary should be, and it was agreed upon that that was what they would do. And then they had done some research, and I told them they needed to talk to an outside attorney. They talked to ISAC about it, and they came to that conclusion that you just described, Rochelle. That is, if you hire somebody before July 1, their salary has to be what my salary was on the day that I left until July 1. At that point, you guys have decided that you're not going to reinstate a compensation board. And so what you decide that salary will be from July 1 on.
Now, not at July 1.
Yeah.
We are deciding that now, what
You've got to decide that before.
position will be paid come July 1.
And, in terms of total pure compensation, you certainly can pay moving expenses to a new county attorney, as you have done with past county engineers. But of course, that needs to be an amount that is a reasonably related amount to moving expenses and cannot serve as some form of shadow compensation. So, yeah, that is correct, that you guys need to kind of decide the salary going forward with an eye towards what you realistically think you're willing to offer for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025, that you believe will attract a quality candidate, that you believe will give you a good chance of being competitive in getting a county attorney, with all the factors in mind that I imagine all of you have already considered or are considering.
Well, we could put a cap on not to exceed.
I think you have to set a salary.
We're setting what that position is paid. Same thing for the auditor, same thing for ourselves.
Yeah.
That salary gets established.
And my observations, having looked at the Iowa County Attorneys Association jobs website a number of times over the years, is that when they post county attorney postings, they either won't post the salary because they either don't want to, or they're going to be close to that July 1 deadline when the appointment would become effective, or they do post it and it's a specific number. When they post assistant county attorney postings, they will post salary ranges, they will post compensation schedules, like say for places like Lynn and Scott and Pottawatomie, the bigger counties in Iowa, they have civil service compensation schedules, they have compensation ranges for positions. When they post an assistant county attorney position, it's X amount to Y amount based on experience and where you fall within the staffing matrix. Polk County is a little different because they start everybody at the bottom and they make them work up, with very few exceptions. But those bigger counties in Iowa, you'll notice that they post ranges, and even in smaller, moderate-sized counties where they have a 1, 2, 3 to 5 assistants, there will be ranges. When it's the county attorney salary, it's usually just a number. So, yes, you guys could have a little wiggle room by paying some moving expenses. I would be hesitant to say that you could pay this new county attorney some kind of a sign-on bonus out of the county attorney incentive fund, because I don't know if that would be permissible. I know that the county attorney incentive fund in other counties has been used to pay bonuses to office staff and assistant county attorneys, but it's my understanding that the county attorney incentive fund money is under the control of the county attorney. And it would obviously be unseemly for the new county attorney to pay themselves a bonus out of the county attorney incentive fund money. So I would say that might not be an option for you guys either. So it would probably be best if you guys decided on what you were going to pay a county attorney going forward. I'd say you should look at what the salaries are for county attorneys in the counties that surround you. Obviously understanding that Osceola is smaller than those counties in population, and that should have an effect on what your decision is, but also looking at it objectively, I believe the Dickinson County Attorney makes just a little shy of $140,000. Lyons, 121, going up to 131, plus a cost of living raise on July 1 of this coming year. I believe the O'Brien County Attorney, if they have remained full-time, is somewhere in the 130 range. I know that Sioux County is in the mid 130s. I'd have to look at the exact number, and I don't have that county, 99 county page data that we have for most of the compensation board meetings. But you guys do have to take a long, hard look at what you're paying county attorney, what they're paying county attorneys around here. And it doesn't have to match those numbers. I get that. Smaller county than Lyon, Dickinson, O'Brien, Clay, etc. But you're in a situation where that's somewhere around there is going to be the going rate. And I mean, the other thing I would say is just looking at the area around here, you know, Sioux, they have 3 county attorneys in the office, or 2 assistants and a county attorney. I don't know if anybody's moving anytime soon. Maybe somebody there would be interested. O'Brien, they seem to have a mixture of part-time and full-time county attorney staff who I wouldn't speak for them, but they've had the ability to be part-time or full-time as they choose based on how things are going to go for them or what they want. Clay, their assistant county attorney and their county attorney switched positions a number of years ago. Both were very experienced county attorneys and had been in Clay for quite some time. The assistant Clay county attorney just became a district associate judge. Clay's looking for an assistant county attorney, and they can probably pay that person based on experience, probably close to what you guys are going to pay a county attorney. Dickinson went from 3 attorneys in their county attorney's office to 2. And pay that county attorney and that assistant county attorney accordingly. So I don't know what your pool looks like for applicants, and my apologies, we haven't had a conversation about that. I'm certainly happy to, you know, talk with you guys about who you have or don't have or what your prospects are, but it's probably time to consider upping the salary beyond what you would in a normal percentage range increase in a year to attract and retain a quality candidate. And the other thing I'd point out is, yeah, for a county of the size of Osceola, the salary is probably in keeping with what the salary is in other small counties in Iowa that have full-time county attorneys. That's fair to say. But you're in your market, you're in your area, and the other thing I'd say is I didn't take a raise my first year, so that never really caught back up based on that. Bob Hansen also didn't take raises or took very small raises in some years because he was also working as an part-time assistant county attorney for juvenile in O'Brien. And those lower percentages or no raise years that he took weren't also exactly made up either. So in terms of keeping pace with other counties in the region, you might have some catching up to do. So that's kind of my pitch for you guys to reconsider kind of what you're thinking. Doesn't benefit me.
That was a lot to say we need to go up a ways.
You know, I'm just going to be honest with you. I spent plenty of time recently talking about this topic in other places. So, but yeah, sorry for the novel. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
The only question I have for you yet is the the recovery fund has continually went down in the last years.
Yeah, which page are you on there?
And your pitch was to pay our assistant more.
Mm-hmm.
What page are you on?
Revenue page. About 6-7 months down. I mean, what, in 2021, 22, it was 23,000, then it went to 24,000, 20. And I know this year isn't over, but we're at 9,000 this year. I mean, what's going on there? I mean, not working. Your pitch was to give her a raise, but
I think you're saying if that were dedicated, more time were dedicated to it, what kind of number could we be looking at there?
Significantly more. I'd have to get your numbers on what you have for uncollected fines, but you would be in a much better position to do so. I mean, just in terms of if we look at what that recovery number is, so
My
some of
understanding
that,
there, Jerry, is it's just not a high priority item, so we're not collecting as much. And
it's not a high priority item. And the other thing you got to remember is in terms of times that it was spent on it, Elizabeth's been with us since 2023, I believe. And when she started, she basically, she had time learning from Jace. Jace was pretty solicitous in terms of teaching and training her, but she was starting, having not worked in that position before. So she had kind of to learn how to do that and learn how to do the job. So there probably was some dip in the amount of collections. Jace came into this job having worked in private practice and knowing what it was like to make the calls to collect on those sorts of debts and had some experience in that. Elizabeth was starting anew and realistically speaking had to pick up on it. The other thing I would also add is that, part of the reason you're down this year is new fiscal year started in July of last year. I started working as part-time county attorney over there in Lyon that time last year. Now, granted, she's not doing Lyon County work, and I dedicate a lot of time to doing both of the county's works, but even if you just think about it from this point of view, there's 2 phone lines in that office. If I'm in that office and somebody calls, she picks it up, and then someone calls, I pick it up. You don't have that if there's somebody that's out of the office doing something else in another county. Collecting fines is about picking up the phone when somebody calls. When I'm in that office over lunch and she's gone, I routinely get calls from people on their lunch break, refer them to her or answer their questions about fine collections. Fine collections is about having your butt in the seat and being able to answer those phone calls when they come in, which is why people that work part-time fine collections for county attorneys' offices almost always work over lunch hours. So you could see a significant change if you had somebody whose job it was to collect those fines, and you could really see a huge change if you were able to combine a Violence Against Women Act grant-funded position with a part-time fine collection job to get somebody to a full-time employee position, and then you'd really only be paying for approximately half of that position anyways, and we would in effect get an actual victim witness coordinator and a fine collector who could be the same person, and that would really transform the work of the office. Because having somebody that collects fines, it gets you guys objectively way more money. And also, any crime that involves victims, I've noticed being in line, it goes so much smoother when you have somebody whose job it is to be a liaison to victims, and they're not just calling the county attorney trying to find time to talk to the county attorney when they're doing other things so often. So, yeah, Jerry, you're right. It has gone down, but there's just manpower things that we've had to deal with.
You're talking like traffic fines or?
Well, traffic fines, but the main volume of what fines you can collect are mainly OWI and drug cases. You get to your real major felonies like, the B felony sex abuse cases where people go to prison. Nobody's paying fines on that because they're going to prison for so long, they're not paying fines, and they're pretty much honestly worthless in terms of employment when they get out. Your high-level assaults, drug cases where people don't go to prison but end up on probation, collecting fines on that can be pretty dicey because they're high fines. A lot of those people don't have jobs. But when you talk about the people who get arrested for marijuana and meth and having other people's prescription drugs, or they got their OWIs, especially their repeat OWIs, a lot of those people have jobs. They're people whose wages we can go after if we have the time to have somebody that can garnish their wages, can look up using databases whether or not they're employed, whether or not they're filing taxes. We can't look at their tax returns, but we can use a service to figure out if they've filed a tax return. And then you can collect fines from those people and stay in touch with them and let them know that, we're still paying attention and you're going to need to take care of your fines.
Well, we're into the conservation time, so if you have time or want to send us an email with further thoughts and recommendations, that's fine. One thought I'd had was you were talking about county attorney incentive fund as a bonus option. If the current county attorney makes a recommendation to the board or to use those funds for the good of a potential new attorney, I don't know, look into that. Is that a way to
That had
allow
popped-
us
yeah.
something?
That had kind of popped
Yeah.
into my mind as a way that could potentially be used. I think I would need to talk with probably ISAC or the AGs to make sure that that was not
Yeah.
something that was subject of some kind of previous contradictory opinion or statement, but that had come to my mind, and as long as there was a clear directive that I was to receive none of that money if I made that recommendation, that would probably be a whole lot more above board than the alternative we discussed, so.
As of June 30, we have 16,845 in that fund.
That could get you guys quite a ways towards attracting some other candidate, or some candidate, I don't know what you guys got, so. But yeah, I'll get out of your hair, and I will take a look into that, and otherwise, if you have any other questions, or if you want to discuss anybody who may have applied for the position, I'm more than happy to have that conversation with you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Nolan.
As to having part-time idea floated before, did you say that if multiple part-time county attorneys are identified, each has to live in the county, correct? Or
No, if you have a part-time, are you talking about if you had like a part-time county attorney and then a part-time assistant county attorney?
I don't know how we identify it.
Because you can only have one person that holds the title at a time. Like when Dakota Thole Dawson Rockman or Dakota Thole Dawson used to do it, they would rotate who had the title. But it would be like they would have one county attorney that was a part-timer and then one or two assistants. And they would basically, with the assent of the board, rotate who had the title county attorney for any given term or years in a term. You can have, like, several counties around here have a county attorney who is quote-unquote part-time, but they pay them almost like a full-time county attorney with the understanding they're going to do 30, 40 hours of county attorney work a month, and then they'll have one full-time county attorney who's usually paid at or higher than what the county attorney gets, and then maybe a part-time assistant county attorney, and it's kind of floating and amorphous how many full-time employee equivalents you've got, because a lot of times they're agreeing that the part-time elected county attorney is going to do more than 20 hours a week. So kind of in terms of being realistic, it's not very realistic that you guys would get a county attorney who was a part-timer and be your appointed elected county attorney that you would then pay a half-time salary. You probably need to adjust to a point where you were kind of talking about paying somebody 3/4 of the salary what you pay a full-timer or somewhere in there, and then talk about hiring an assistant who would probably be part-time.
Yeah, if we hire a part-time county attorney, they have to live in the
Yes,
county.
yes.
Identify part-time.
Yeah, but I don't know about assistant part-time.
They do not have to live in the county.
Because they're the ones that have to be on the ballot.
The county attorney must be on the
Ballot,
and must be a valid elector or voter of the county.
yes, and has to live in the county when they take office or be
Yes.
appointed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, all right.
So do I just leave the salary for right now then for the county attorney? Or what is your
I think
suggestion?
it'll be 125 probably at least. But
That's in the 30s.
I'd say leave it.
Well, I'd say we should be in the 30s. We'll come back to it.
It cost us a lot more money to have him go downtown than we think.
Oh, yeah. But to get somebody to fill that position.
No, but I'm just saying, I'm back to that recovery fund. He said that because he was there, he wasn't getting the job done. So it actually cost us more money to have him go to.
Oh, yeah.
That's why Sioux County doesn't do it.
We'll come back to that one.
Morning.
Yep,
Well, it's not gonna be that complicated.
that's new.
Promise?
What's that? All right.
10 minutes here, so.
We're good. The engineer
What's
got
that?
the agenda.
I know I can. All right, so starting page 1 of the Conservation Board budget is the
The
first.
engineer got scratched, so we did it until 10:45.
Oh,
I
well.
knew that, but you didn't,
We're
sorry.
gonna get, give your annual report too, so just keep
Yeah.
that in mind.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
All right. So, starting with the top line, that is my salary. And what I did this year is the same thing I've done in years past. I take my salary and the salary of the maintenance technician and resource naturalist, and I calculate the 3.5% raise for everybody. I add them all together, I divide it by 3, and that's what everybody gets.
I've liked that approach, but I had the thought this year, if and when you're no longer a director, is that really gonna bite us? Or are these other positions certainly not out of line for what they should be getting paid?
They're not out of line.
Because I have a feeling the next director is gonna have to jump to what, had you taken the full 3.5% yourself, they would have been getting.
Suppose that's possible.
But, all right, you've presented this.
What's that?
Very possible.
It's
I'd
possible.
say probably likely, but.
I'm guessing after your last conversation, it could happen, but.
Yeah.
So the wages, part-time employee, that is Rebecca. The next, which is our part-time nature center attendant, part-time, full-time. The next line down there would be our 2 office staff that we have at the nature center for 4 hours per day on the weekends. FICA is a percentage of all of those numbers added together. IPERS is also a number of, it would just be, I believe, my salary and Rebecca's salary added together for that particular one. The employee health insurance, that is 1 family and 1 single. We got $250 for board member expenses in case they would ever want to turn their mileage in, which they are certainly legally allowed to do. We got $750 for office supplies, which is the same as last year. $100 for some subscriptions to local county papers. The next $625, that is a uniform allowance of $350 for me, $175 for Rebecca. Official publications and legal notices is $2,000. Employee mileage, $150. Telephone, cell phone service. We are realizing a bit of a network savings when we switched our internet providers. That number actually went down. Educational training services, $500. Engineering services, $1,000. Offices and data processing equipment, bumped it up $1,000 to $2,000. I'm sure you guys know by now about the whole end of life for Windows 10, so we might have to buy a couple new computers, but ours are not nearly as expensive to buy as the ones in the courthouse. And then we have the dues and memberships for $1,700. So next we'll go down, that would be Darren's salary for the upcoming year. The next number is Matt's salary for the upcoming year. I've got $15,000 budgeted for part-time employees or seasonal help. Our FICA, again, is the 7.65% of those numbers. IPERS, I believe that would be Darren and Matt's salaries times point, or it's 9.44%. The employee insurance stayed the same. Chemicals and grasses stayed the same at $6,000. Fuel stayed the same at $22,500. Recreational supplies stayed the same at $4,500. Wearing apparel and uniform, that is $350 for Matt, $350 for Darren, and then we buy t-shirts and boots for our seasonal employees, or $100 boot allowance for the seasonal employees. Again, we got our mileage in there. Electrical lights and power, I did bump that up. And I will tell you the reason I bumped it up is because we now have 12 more campsites that we have to pay power on, and we will have a cabin that is electric heat and electric air conditioning. So that number went up from the previous year. it's kind of a guesstimation, I guess, as far as that goes, onto what that's actually going to cost. Garbage pickup stayed the same. Cabin, as you see, that line is gone. We are currently in the process of building the cabin. We actually primed the drywall yesterday, so we're making progress with that. We've got $2,000 in there for the nature center. I bumped the water up again for the cabin and the new campsites out there. I got $1,000 for the lodge, $1,000 for the classroom, $3,500 for operating and construction equipment. If we would need to rent some piece of equipment to do a project. Miscellaneous, there at $12,000. Again, Trout Fest stayed the same. Campgrounds for Hawkeye Point, we take that money in as a revenue, and then the board did decide that Hawkeye Point Foundation gets to keep the revenue generated at Hawkeye Point Campground. So whereas we take the money in, it goes into the general fund, and then we expend the yearly campground receipts back to the Hawkeye Point Foundation. Machinery and mechanized equipment went up by $10,000. What we are looking at doing is trading in one of our lawnmowers, which is no longer under warranty. We've not gotten any numbers for that yet, but we should be able to get it covered with that amount in there. Cleaning and painting, $2,000. Custodial, $2,000. Agricultural, horticulture services, $2,500. The reason I bumped that up is to help. We did utilize some drone spraying this year for the first time in some problem areas. Like some areas it's not safe and or advantageous for us to do, and it's a lot easier to send somebody out there with a little remote control helicopter and they spray it. Works pretty good. Environmental education, $4,000. Park improvements, $5,000. That is usually, again, a Community Foundation of Osceola County grant that we apply for usually every year in the amount of $5,000. So we take that $5,000 revenue, put it into the general fund, and then the money is there, so we have it to spend it. $1,500 for the shooting ranges, $1,300 for maintenance on motor vehicles, and then you're going to see the $35,000 there for shop equipment. And I will tell you that it's not actually for shop equipment; it is for the shop. What we are running into is our older shop out there / cold storage. The doors on it are pretty well junk. So what we're looking to do is doing like a hydraulic one-piece lift door. And then on the west side of the building, the header is actually just rotting apart over the old door that used to be there. So there's going to need to be some attention and money spent on that particular building. So, any questions? Expenditures?
This was reviewed and approved by your board?
Yes. I believe, if my math was right, with those, like with the changes that were made, the difference between the general fund from what I had last year, like this current year, and what I projected for next year, I went up like $3,000.
On motor vehicle, you said 1,300.
13,000. Okay. I guess to finish off the revenues, I put $20,000 into our budget from a land acquisition account for doing other capital improvement projects. I have $2,000 for the Lowe's Memorial Scholarship. Our board did award 2 of those $1,000 scholarships last year. So we'll have to pay for those in this upcoming year. And then I have $20,000 out of our REAP account for use in there too for other capital improvement projects. Okay, so if we go to revenues, first one, we're I see quite a decrease in there. That would be the ARPA money. Our Destination Iowa grant should be paid, I think, yet this fiscal year. We're working diligently to try and get the cabin done so we can get the paperwork completed and get our grant payout and get that money back to us. So I have $5,000 in there. Again, that is for the smaller of the Community Foundation of Osceola County grants. We've got interest on investments, our land acquisition fund. We've got interest on REAP funds. And then land, that would be some land rent that we get from some various properties, including the Low Farm. Willow Creek camping fees, it bumped up from $8,000 the previous fiscal year to $16,000. I hope that I exceed that 100%, but that would, well, I guess time will tell. Hawkeye Point Campground stayed static at $8,000. That's just, again, a kind of projection that we give. The General Basic Fund miscellaneous buildings, that is our cabin. It's really hard to say how much money we're going to make on the cabin in the upcoming year since we don't have one now. And like we've never had one before. So I hope people just come out and use that thing like the Dickens. But it's really hard to say. I got $1,000 in there from donations. $1,000 in reimbursement from private services. The REAP number comes to the county, just for those that might need a little refresher course, that money comes to us from the Iowa DNR through gambling dollars. So it is allocated by the Iowa legislature every year, and it comes two ways. We get a check on county per capita, which is pretty small in our county, and then we get a per county. So there they take the number and divide it into their formula, divided by 99, and if you meet your 22% per thousand REAP certification, they send you a check. Marine fuel tax, boat certificate of title fees, our dividends, checks that come in, donations money, and then you see we don't have the $40,000 budgeted this year for the sale of other commodities for the County Conservation Land Acquisition Trust Fund. That would be our gravel royalties. We received that check last month, so that will get cashed, and I don't believe they will be mining any gravel because they got quite a pile of it sitting up there. So the revenue is going down. It looks like a lot, but if you take out that $200,000 and then the $40,000, it actually probably went up a little bit.
Anything in that, or move on to weed commissioner?
It's a good thing. It's a good thing that
Like when you presented it,
Oh, thank you.
each line item, I like that.
We're all about keeping Jeff happy these days.
What?
Said we're all
I
about
am
keeping
too.
Jeff happy these days.
Well,
No,
just.
First time,
I
Yeah.
agree.
I don't.
It was a lot nicer, I knew where you were at and. Yeah.
Good.
No. All right, so we go to weed commissioner. Everything stayed the same. Salary, $5,000. FICA, IPERS, $300 to put it in the paper for a grand total of $6,155.
You know anybody that can do something about that? Putting it in the paper part?
With that, any questions on anything? All right.
Move on to your annual report?
Now we'll do the annual report. You guys sick
Now
of
you have-
looking at numbers, so I'm
now
not
you
gonna
have-
talk about any numbers in there.
Now you have 10 minutes.
Okay?
How's the ice? Ice gonna be okay?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Trout Fest will still be.
Trout Fest will still be on. Last I heard, I think Spirit Lake had 20 inches of ice on it. Last weekend, 20 or 24.
They had two ATVs go through.
Yeah, well, you know, people should use a little common sense and not drive into the open water. No, you can't. No, you can't. So I did hear the stories about those though, and it does sound like the first couple, the one that happened kind of over by Parks Marina, those people are pretty lucky to be alive the way it sounds.
Yeah.
Pretty lucky that that guy decided he was gonna go eat supper with his family at the waterfront grill. So,
Yeah, the gal run out there or something, didn't
yeah, he said he was just sitting there and watched the headlights of a UTV go straight up, and then they disappeared. He just took off running from Waterfront Grill towards where it was. Threw his coat out and got them both out, so.
he? I see some pictures of a semi out there, Smith Bay. Bobtail. Oh, man.
There wasn't you driving out
No,
there?
I wasn't. I would not do that.
So, all right. Annual report of the Osceola County Conservation Board, fiscal year 2024. This is covering a period from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. So a year and a half ago. First page, our Conservation Board members, Wade Ellerbrook was appointed last year, has served, I believe he has served a full year. And as such, this year he just happens to be his rotation. So he gets to serve a year and then he's the chairman. So Jeff, I don't know if these guys work the same way that the Conservation Board does, but get ready. John Schmidt's been there since 2019. Zach Marco's been there from 2019. Rod Heemstra took over for longtime member John Corbett. He's been there since 2023, and Ann Byers is now the Long in the Tooth board member, been there since 2011. Board meetings. Board meetings are usually held the second Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. in the classroom at Willow Creek. We did have a special meeting this year. It was all dealing with the campground stuff. We had an extra little meeting with DGR to get some things kind of hammered out. The engineering firms. The complete list of revenues and expenditures is not included in this report. Got to talk to the auditor's office for that. Our staff has stayed the same, at least the full timers that are there pretty much Monday through Friday. Moving on, we'll go to the projects. This is usually the part that everybody likes to see. Are you sure? I got it. So, I guess the biggest thing that we had to deal with as far as projects for that time period was the Willow Creek project. And most of what happened, I guess, through 2023 was working with the engineering firm that was selected early in 2023. Working with them to get the design and schematics and everything kind of good to go. And then I guess the other thing that happened that kind of put a setback and stuff, so they couldn't get started right away in 2023, was our neighbor that decided to object to the zoning request, and that ended up costing us a little money. But we've worked through that. We now own the driveway, and Ideal Landscape was able to get out to Willow Creek last year. They started beginning of April and just really started tearing things apart. I remember them watching stuff start coming in, and all of a sudden my park was just destroyed. But they did work diligently through the spring. They got kind of messed up a little bit right there towards the end of May when I needed it to not rain for one more day. Like, I needed one more day of dry weather and they would have been done by Memorial Day. But lo and behold, we got like an inch and a half, and it really just kind of screwed everything up. And then they started moving stuff out. They were able to get it done by August 1st. They did come out and they completed some stuff in July, got it seeded. So as far as that, though, like that portion of the project has been completed, and now again it is really just on staff trying to get our cabin done. So there we have Willow Creek, Hawkeye Point. I guess the major things that happened at Hawkeye Point, number one, the Sibley Fire Department came out and burned the house down for us. Got the hole filled in, got everything taken out, utilities taken out, so the house is gone. Hawkeye Point Foundation was also able to get some money to purchase some fire rings for the campsites and some concrete cornhole boards for the campground, which have been installed out there. You can see a picture of the Hawkeye Point house going up in flames. The Low Farm, I guess, is another kind of high point here. We planted, I believe, 29 acres of high-quality natives, wildflowers and grasses out at Low Farms for the next stage of development. This would be, I don't know if anybody's familiar with it, but it's from there's a grass waterway in the southeast corner. So everything south of that to the fence line has been planted to natives now. So now the egg is really just kind of in the middle. We got a strip along the north end, we got a strip along the west end, we got a strip along the south end. The other thing that we were dealing with was the Otter Creek Shooting Sports Complex. We had worked with the Osceola County Sportsman's Club, I believe you guys, to get a lease signed with the Osceola County Shooting Sports for some land for them to develop their shooting sports complex out at the Lion's Pit. And then everything, it seems like people just like throwing wrenches at me. So we had another wrench thrown at us, and the county insurance did not like it so much that we still maintained an ownership of a property that had a shooting range on it. So we worked with, as you guys are all aware, we worked with the Osceola County Sportsman's Club and completed the land trade last year towards the end of the year. Got that done. We did put a new floating dock in at the Ocheaton Pits. Part of that money came from the Community Foundation of Osceola County. Education and outreach. I mean, we've got our big programs that we do annually every year. We got our Trout Fest event, which is Saturday, in case anybody's wondering. And I guess we just kind of talked about that. The ice should be good enough for that. It looks like it's going to be a really nice day if someone could just shut the wind off maybe a little bit. And then we have our outdoor adventure night. That one is usually held right around the 1st of August on a Friday night. Have different family, both family style events where there's different things for people to come out and do out at Willow Creek. It does not look like we will be sledding this year, or snowshoeing, or cross-country skiing, but we do still hope to have the ice skates out if people want to come out and use those on Saturday. Other than that, May usually gets filled up pretty quickly with field trips, and then Matt also does some programs for both private and public programming through the year. So, as you can see, the next page of that is a collage of different programs that are held. We got, I believe, an Iowa Lake canoe float. We had a pretty decent-sized hunters education class. The next picture down there, it will be one of the field trips. I believe they do some sort of gunny sack races on their own time. Like, that's how they get a little energy out of those kids after they feed them after lunch. The next one down there to the right, you can actually see there's kids out there dissecting owl pellets. We got our presence at the Osceola County Fair. The one in the middle, as everybody can see, that would be a Dutch oven gathering. All those pots are full of food, and I will attest that the food that usually comes out of a Dutch oven is really, really good. And we got another couple pictures there, one of the field trip and one of a hunter's ed. We got our list of properties that are managed by the Osceola County Conservation Board and kind of what they are. There's a lot of them, so I'm not going to go through those for you, but you can look at them if you'd like to. Habitat work. We plant 11 food plots every year to provide food for wildlife Provided after planning care on 49 acres of restored prairie this year. That is just our, like the regular seedings. That does not include going out and mowing thistles and getting some thistles sprayed and that type of stuff. We also burned around 60 acres of grass in the spring of 2024. I don't know if you guys saw it, but we're ahead of schedule this year because we got a little involved in the wildfire that was south of town yesterday, and it did burn off some of the property, but it's all right. It's all right.
Quickly, time's up.
Is it? It's Nolan's fault.
It is.
It's Nolan's fault.
I don't disagree.
All right, so just to wrap up, we've got, we collected $1,902 in camping fees from Willow Creek. A lot of that had to do with the Willow Creek expansion project. Like, we were not open this spring. We just, like, with all the construction and mess that we had out there, we didn't open it up till after the 4th of July. Conservation Board collected $6,458 from Hawkeye Point, which was down from $8,262 in camping fees, and lodge rentals were up $300. So it seems like people like to use the lodge right around graduation, but there was a pretty good stretch in there where I think we had a lodge rental every weekend for 6 weeks. So.
How many camp spots you got now?
There are 17 at Willow Creek.
17?
Yep.
You overlooked the fact that we gave you the engineer's time.
What's that?
You overlooked the fact that we gave you the engineer's time.
You tricked me.
Thanks, Nick.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Have a great day.
Yeah, you do.
I was here just to keep you under control.
All right. Next item would be a possible closed session per Iowa Code 21.5 at the recommendation of the engineer, or consideration of the engineer. And we do have the request.
Wait a minute. Gotta wait. We're not into closed session yet.
The employee has requested the use of closed session. Do we have interest in entering into closed session?
I'll make a motion to go to closed session.
We have a motion from Schulte, support from Helmers to enter closed session. Any discussion concerning that item? Hearing none. Mr. Schulte, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Helmers?
Aye.
Mr. DeBoer?
Aye.
Mr. Loring?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you.